Hello, folks. I'm your host, Joe Twin Love, here for your AEW Dynamite review. This time for the September 11th edition of AEW Dynamite. So, recap to, fateful events from 23 years ago. But just want to say that thoughts, are out to, again, thoughts out with the families, that are still feeling the effects. Happened 23 years ago. I was probably in my old house at the time when stuff happened. Our old family house, probably sleeping, or probably at school, and then randomly happens, hear about the news and get it sent home. But yeah, nonetheless, thoughts and condolences out with those that are suffering effects from what happened 23 years ago. Now, move on to first. So, sorry guys, I did watch All Out on Saturday. Did see the highlights, and man, what a violent main event. Not the official main event, but a violent one, certainly, between Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Strickland. That unsanctioned, lights out, steel cage match. The Texas Death Match at Full Gear in November between them, that was brutal and chaotic. And this was, I don't know if it was as barbaric or brutal, but this was certainly vicious. And certainly well there, as perhaps Swerve is going to take some time off to go film for a role, and we'll see how it is from there. As potentially MJF and Swerve were written off from TV at All Out, and we'll see. AEW has very good depth. We can complain about the bloated roster all we want, but the reality is they have very good depth. So, already without Adam Cole, Hobbs, look like Jamie Hayter's back for the women, but we get the point, a number of injuries. So Kenny Omega still out, and they're still making do with the players or the roster they have. So it's going to be interesting, but yeah, sorry guys, I did watch All Out. It just, when you have family from out of state come over and you're not sure how to film, or you don't want to record for too long, then there's that. But nonetheless, I'm here for your Dynamite review. So, the other thing is, the other big thing that happened on All Out, which trickled into Dynamite, was Jon Moxley and the Blackpool Combat Club situation. So, we've seen Jon Moxley be followed by Maria Shafir, or they're basically side by side as mixed parts in this new alliance, or in this kind of new takeover of AEW. Now, at the end of the World Title match Saturday night at All Out, which was Bryan Danielson and Jack Perry. So, Killswitch, aka Luchasaurus, attacked Bryan Danielson after the bell, and Christian Cage and the Patriarchy, again, Christian Cage, won the Casino Gauntlet match at All In to earn a world title shot he can cash in at any time. So, what happened afterwards was Jon Moxley basically shielded himself at ringside to thwart Christian Cage's cash-in, so to speak, of his world title contract. So, the Blackpool Combat Club members intervened, including Pac, and they were in with Bryan Danielson. So, Moxley gave Danielson a hug, and right off the bat, you don't see Moxley give that type of emotion much on TV. So, right away you can feel something was in the air. So then, they were all arm in arm, they raised each other's hands, and Claudio hit a European uppercut to Bryan Danielson, which knocked him down. He no-sold it. He looked surprised. And then Jon Moxley, a paper bag or a plastic bag, put it over Bryan Danielson's head, and, a mauling scene. And then eventually referees and officials, got in the way. Knox and Tank was there for Bryan. Whatever you want to say, it was a jarring scene. And Will Ewan being held back by Pac as he didn't know what to think. He was seeing one of his leaders or one of his mentors, being choked out in the middle of the ring. It's like, I think we'll all be honest as to why it was kind of silly that Christian didn't come back out to try to cash it in, but it is what it is. But we did get a number of segments with Jon Moxley tonight, and we'll might as well start with that. So, started with a little bit of a promo by Moxley after the attack on Bryan. All out. Started the show with that, and then we see Blackpool Combat Club members attack Private Party and Commander. And Pac, he wasn't involved, so we know he's a part of this alliance. So there's that. Question is, where's Wheeler Yuta's loyalties lie? We'll see. As he is also a member of the Trios Champions. But yeah, interesting dilemma. So then the other segment was, we finally got Jon Moxley and Darby face to face after Moxley said he just wants to talk to Darby. So Darby came out and called out Jon Moxley, who's been looking for him, and Moxley said that Darby should hand over his world title shot for a Grand Slam. Or he said that match with Bryan, it ain't gonna happen at Grand Slam. So he said Darby should give him his world title shot. And Darby said, "What are you, stupid? Were you dumped on your head again, drinking again?" So that certainly hit a point. So Jon Moxley said, "You want me to earn it? Well, fine." So lay out the challenge for Grand Slam. Moxley versus Darby, with that world title shot on the line. So interesting. Darby wins Royal Rampage to get the world title shot for Grand Slam, and then he ultimately is not going to get it and puts his shot on the line for Moxley. Unique dilemma, but if you want to give this angle power for Moxley and company, totally, definitely see it. So then, for All Out as well. Well, started the show with Christian Cage out there with Patriarchy. He cut a very good promo. The thing was, he talked about, well, when he finally does cash in, he says Brian hopes that Bree's the one with CT, so she can't comprehend how bad of a champion he was. So, a unique line there from Christian Cage. A thing though, so that also happened on the show, which is very interesting as well. So, ever since last year when All In came to London, there were speculations about Bryan Danielson taking on Nigel Mcguinness. That was Bryan's last match in Ring of Honor. His last match. And, it's a match both have talked about how they wanted. So, Nigel Mcguinness at the end of the show, right before the main event, he talked about, according to Tony Khan, a contract was given to him saying that Bryan Danielson will face Nigel Mcguinness at Grand Slam. So it seems like we may get this match after all. In New York City at Grand Slam. So you can definitely tell, especially when Bryan Danielson's full-time career is coming to a close. We just don't know when, but sometime this year. So, great thing. And Nigel said, "The ball is in your court, Bryan." We had a good sound match between some good matches on the show, I must say, with Jack Perry, Leo Rush for the TNT Championship. I will say it was definitely weird seeing Leo Rush challenge for the TNT Championship. But sound match, so Jack Perry won with the right knee in the end, but it Leo Rush, it's good to see him wrestle. Had some high flying attack against Jack Perry. Jack Perry, the way he does those snake eye maneuver, long dart of sorts to the apron and then to the middle turnbuckle on Rush, those look brutal. So that was great stuff. But yeah, Jack Perry wins with a right knee. Very good defense for him. I will say, again, with the Elite, it's weird. I mean, it seems like we're going to get Okada versus Takeshita, which good. The Bucks, I'll get into that in a bit. Jack Perry seems like the only one who was really benefited, kind of, this whole Elite takeover they tried to do that fell flat. We had a good match between Ricochet and Sammy Guevara. Sammy Guevara, we haven't seen really on AEW television that much anymore. But it was great to see him in this sound match for Ricochet, which we know Sammy Guevara had to look up to Ricochet at one point or another. But fun match between two guys who we know can fly, can bring it. It's good to see Sammy Guevara after a good chunk of time off TV, and this was a good match. As Ricochet won with the vertigo, that's his new finisher. And it's simply a breath of fresh air how it's not like a high-flying maneuver. But Ricochet won. And he beat Fletcher. He beat Guevara. Like Ospreay said, rack up more wins. And eventually the match could happen. The ruin toward that, definitely. Now, another part of the show I mentioned. So Okada was in the back, Don Callis and Takeshita confronted him. And we know Takeshita came up short at All Out, but it seems like the match is definitely brewing between the two. Sometime, whether it's should not be at Grand Slam, but we shall see. Either way, it's going to be great when it happens. Now, despite me saying that there was some very good stuff on Dynamite, which I enjoyed, a number of parts I didn't like. Mariah May. Ever since she beat Toni Storm, this is a problem with champions, it feels like. And for AEW and WWE a number of times. They're great with Chase and the angle to get him there, the champion. But the aftermath, the follow-up, is not great. Mariah May, since she beat Toni Storm, has, had some segments, she beat Nyla Rose last week. Okay. And then we barely don't even see really on AEW TV anymore. Dynamite especially. There was a segment, so they were advertising, or at least they made a video about it, that Mariah May was going to have her championship celebration at All Out. And the only part we saw of Mariah May was Sky Blue came out because Chicago, she's so injured, she was on crutches, and she addressed the crowd on stage. And Mariah May and her had some jabs back and forth. But Mariah May kicked out the crutches, attacked Sky Blue, and then Sky Blue was saved by Queen Anamata, her friend. And it prompted a Women's Championship Eliminator match last night, which, if you know me, and eliminator matches are just not right. They're just annoying. Just a non-title match is fine. It's fine. But really, Mariah May, who's their next challenger? That's the thing. It's like they're not building towards... Now, she mentioned Mina Shirakawa, and, maybe they can build towards a match or there, but it's like, I don't know. Chris Jericho and Orange Cassidy. Hi guys. Look. These are arguably the two worst characters two most characters I could care less about right now on AEW TV. Jericho, I'm a fan of his and what he's done, but it's like the learning tree, it's like give or take every week. And Orange Cassidy, his gimmick has run dry for me, honestly. And talking about the $7,000 again from a couple years ago, apparently he dumped pennies on his car. Now the other thing I will say, which may be a good sign out of all of this, seems like they're teasing solely Big Bill splitting from the Learning Tree and Chris Jericho, which I can definitely appreciate and be down for, because Big Bill is great by himself and great shape. He can wrestle. It definitely worked for him, needed to get split from Chris Jericho. And then the main event. The tag team division needs help. Needs work, I should say. So, last night, the main event was a tag team casino gauntlet match to decide who would face the Bucks at Grand Slam for tag team titles. So, Don Callis, Takesha, and Fletcher, they were backstage with Will Ospreay early in the show, and Don Callis talked about repaying him for a favor of laying out the family and do this favor to team with. It's hilarious. So Don Callis let him out the family. Kyle Fletcher has tag team partner Mark Davis, who we have not seen in almost a year due to wrist injury. And Will Ospreay teams with Kyle Fletcher in this Casino Gauntlet match, which is comprised of FTR, the Undisputed Kingdom, the Outrunners. You know, it's like a number of teams in there, and not an actual team that won it. Kyle Fletcher, Will Ospreay won it. Now, yes, they are, I guess, former members. I'm not sure if they still are the United Empire, but you get the point. Mark Davis, I'm curious if we'll see him healthy again. You know, or not when. But then there's news of next week. Will Ospreay is going to team with Takeshita and Fletcher to take on the Bucks and Okada in a trios match. And it's like, at times you're like, at the same time, come to realization that they have too many titles. Again, so it's like, yeah. Tag division needs help. AEW, that's all I'll say. But like I said, Dynamite had some good moments that I enjoyed, particularly the Moxley thing, and also Hangman beat up someone else backstage. So it's like, he said that anyone who gets his way of being Hangman, he and Jeff Jarrett had a scuffle, so there's a match brewing between them, but I'd say it was like 60-40 positive for me. Maybe 65, but nonetheless, you get the point. Anyways, guys, thank you all for joining me today on the podcast for the AEW Dynamite review. It's a blast and was a joy. Thank you guys all. And see you guys next time. Adios and peace.